The blind man said to the deaf man, listen, Champ Creed's bringing something that the game's been missing. The deaf man said to the blind man, watch, it's Brotivation season and we are ready to rock. What's going on, everybody? This is your friendly neighborhood radio show host, Champ Creed with Fox Sports Radio, and welcome to Brotivation. Yes, Brotivation. Some of you may ask, well, what does that mean? As we go along through these summer shows, through the summer series, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about it. It'll come out with every episode because it's I like to say it's a chamber, if you will, of knowledge, of efficacy, of intelligence. You can't get it all in just one show. That's why we're spreading it out throughout the entire summer. So sit back, enjoy. I like to share a lot of my personal experiences. I like to share experiences that I see other people deal with. And always remember this, Brotivation lesson number 2.78. A wise man learns from the mistakes of others. A smart man learns from his mistakes. So if you're making a lot of mistakes, you are not the wise man. Now, with that being said, I'll drop little jewels throughout the show, drop little nuggets of wisdom to help you enhance your life, not only from a male point of view, but sometimes we'll have a female perspective with multiple guests throughout the season. We'll also have a take on sports that you genuinely don't get when you watch the major sports networks. You know, here's my thing. I'm like you. I wake up, eat some cereal, brush my teeth, watch sports, and if I'm driving to work, I'll listen to sports. And when I'm at work, instead of doing the job, I'll be listening or watching sports. That's just what I do. As a man, that's my thing. That's my comfort zone. That's my steeple of silence, if you will. You know, sports. That's how life is. But what I've come to learn is that through sports, you can learn so many other dynamics about how to carry yourself in life, how to apply the certain mechanics of execution in your sports experience to and apply it to real life. Now, some guys, you may not be sports fans. You might just be tuning on the dial. You may just be driving through trying to find something to listen to while you're in traffic. But if you're here, if you are listening to Brotivation Sports with your host, Champ Creed, there's something for everyone. And I don't spread myself thin trying to please everyone. You may not like my opinions. You may not like my viewpoints and perspective. But with this microphone in front of me, in a studio, and a producer to my left or a producer to my right, we make sure that everything we say is from the heart and that is true. You'll never catch me BSing or pussyfooting around. I give it to you raw. I give it to you straight. Like old dirty bastard. That's what we do. So, with that being said, you know, this show is kind of a special show. This is the fight show. And we're going to talk a little bit about UFC 200. We're going to go down the fights on that card. And for those of you that are gambling men and gambling women, I'm going to give you the smart money. You know, this is going to be the smart money because fight money is big money and big money is smart money. So you're going to get the rundown on that. Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an account of my experience at the Muhammad Ali Memorial Services. There are some times in your life where you have to go to funerals. Some people, they try to avoid it. And it's not really a pleasant thing to do. The specter of death, the end of life, for some folks is just too much to bear. And when you have a man that has accomplished such great things in his life and has affected so many people in a positive and influential way, the funeral turns into a celebration of life. And that's one of the things about Brotivation. You know, we want you to enhance the way you live, the way you affect people in a positive way, in an influential way. Muhammad Ali definitely did that across the globe. And although by this time I'm pretty sure you've heard a lot of talking heads, a lot of pundits, a lot of people pay their respects, which all respect is due. Most of those guys and women that were reporting, some were on the scene, some were in their studios, some had recollections of him in his younger days during his prime. I had the opportunity. I've never met Muhammad Ali. I've met people that have known him, and I've heard dozens of entertaining stories. I've heard multitudes of enlightening stories. And this was my time to pay homage by going to Louisville, Kentucky, attending the memorial services, and then just hanging out around the town. When you go certain places, I travel a lot. I think travel is a cornerstone of maturity, development, and it helps broaden your perspective of the world that we live in. Whether it's international travel. Listen, I was born in New York City. I still have friends that haven't gone past the Bronx going north. I've had friends that haven't gone past Jersey going west. I've had friends that just don't want to go anywhere because it's a comfort zone. But I think as a man, Brotivation rule number 7.4, it is imperative, you must travel as far from home as you can. But don't buy a one-way ticket, because if you get in trouble, your ass need to get back. But you must go far. You must channel all of your energy into putting yourself in a position to where you can see the world and see how the world sees you. Because here in America, I'm in the second quarter of manhood, which I'll explain to you the quarters of manhood on the other shows. I'm in my second quarter of manhood, and I had to go to another country, or several countries actually, just to see how I am perceived as being a young black male. Now, with that being said, you can start off small. You can travel regional, and then you can travel from state to state, coast to coast, do what you want to do, figure out how things work, and then you can go on your international trip. And now here's how that all relates to what we're going to talk about regarding Muhammad Ali. Here's a man that at some point, he probably, I'd say definitely, was the most famous man in the world. And when you look back at media in the 20th century, there are certain figures that stand out. And I read this in a magazine once. They said there are 3 people that are known around the world. Number 1 is the Pope. Number 2 is the President of the United States of America. And number 3 is the heavyweight champion of the world, whoever that would be at the time. If you're looking at Joe Louis, if you're looking at Muhammad Ali, because that's where boxing was. I mean, at that time, you had boxing, you had horse racing, and with the development and advent of television, professional wrestling was a big sports draw, ratings-wise, live gate-wise, everything. And Muhammad Ali dabbled in a little bit of all of it. Kentucky Derby, he's from Louisville. Pretty sure he showed up one time or two. But after the break, we'll get into my experience at the Muhammad Ali Memorial Services. Then we'll talk a little bit about Kimbo Slice, who's another guy that, wow, you want to talk about someone who came from nothing and attained what he wanted with the power of his fists. Talk Kimbo Slice. And then after that, what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit of UFC 200 smart money. This is Keith Champ Creed. You're listening to Brotivation Sports on Fox Sports Radio, 1340 AM. We will be back after the break. Welcome back to Brotivation Sports. I'm your host, Champ Creed. You are listening to Fox Sports Radio, 1340 AM. And before the break, I was getting into my story about my trip, my pilgrimage to pay respect to the Honorable Muhammad Ali. Now, I didn't intend to go. I received the news like everyone did. A fateful end of the week. And the weird thing about this, and I'm going to be honest with you, I have a friend of mine, my brother Kevin Brown. We had a talk earlier in the year, and for whatever reason it came up. I think Muhammad Ali, he went to the hospital. He was hospitalized in January. And when he was hospitalized, we said, whoa, is this it? The champ might not make it. What does that do to the world? How will that affect the world? And there's just certain sports figures, certain iconic figures, certain people that, when we were younger, we used to think, man, how's the world going to feel when, someone at the level of Magic Johnson or Michael Jordan or, Bo Jackson. And this is, when Bo Jackson was in his prime, before his career was cut kind of short. The sports luminaries. How will the world be, when these people, cease to exist on this plane? And we came up with a lot of sports figures, but we never brought up Muhammad Ali. Now, just to give you a background, my earliest memory of Muhammad Ali was he was a special guest referee at WrestleMania. I think that may have been like the first time that I actually saw him, and I asked the question, who's that? Why is everybody cheering for this referee? To which then my uncles, my god brothers, they explained to me, and they sat me down and they told me, and then they showed me, different articles, but it still didn't register. And simultaneously at that time, I had a school play, and they were going through characters that historical characters that you have to pick. And I don't know I can't remember if the teacher picked it for me or I picked myself, but I was picked to be Muhammad Ali in a school play. I think I'm like in first grade, second grade, something like that. So, I just thought like, okay, this guy was just a boxer. I'm young, I don't know anything. So then I remember one of my uncles, he actually had a Muhammad Ali album. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. This guy's a boxer. What is he doing with a record? And I'm talking about a vinyl, He puts it on, and, the music comes on, the trumpets blare. There's a British guy with a British accent. I think he opens up, and then you hear his voice. And mind you, this was my first time actually hearing his voice. We didn't have YouTube. I couldn't go into archives and look up the video or anything like that. I just saw pictures and read a little bit in the books. So the first thing comes on. This is the legend of Cassius Clay, the most beautiful fighter in the world today. He talks a great deal and brags indeedy of a muscular punch that's incredibly speedy. The fistic world was dull and weary. With a champ like Liston, things had to be dreary. Then someone with color, someone with class, brought fight fans a running with cash. And I'm like, whoa, this dude is dropping bars right now. I'm listening to hip hop, and I'm like, wait a minute. This dude, he's spoken word hip hop, no beat in the back, but I'm kind of feeling it. Let me find out more about this man. So, I do a little bit more investigation, and then finally, we had somebody that actually had tapes of his old fights that they used to replay on ABC Wide World of Sport. So I got a chance to see some of the fights, and then the interviews came up. And when the interviews came up, I started to listen to, I'm enamored by the float by like a butterfly, sting like a bee. We've all heard that. And, the other poems that he had with Bundini. And those things were entertaining. It just drew you in. And I grew up a wrestling fan first. My schedule on Saturday mornings was wake up, get that cereal, Cocoa Pebbles, Fruity Pebbles, Cocoa Puffs. Then watch my cartoons, Turbo Team, He-Man, Rockin' Wrestling. Watch wrestling, 12 to 1. Then watch Kung Fu flicks from 1 to 2. And then go outside. But once 2 o'clock hit, I had those tapes, popped in the Muhammad Ali tape, started watching. And then now this guy's becoming part of, that heroic pantheon that you assemble as a kid, So I do the play. Had a stunning and stellar performance, might I say. Did pretty well. I could ham it up from time to time. And, that became something that, in terms of forging an identity as a young child, you try to mold yourself after your heroes. You try to mold yourself after those that you look up to. There are your immediate influences, fathers, uncles, police officers, firefighters, things of those nature. But, you also have this fantasy realm in your mind as a man. Like, when I grow up, I want to be tough. I want to be able to fight. I want to be able to shoot guns. Pew, 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 pew. Speaking of which, I wonder who was the first kid that came up with the pew, 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 pew. Like, did you do that? You did that as a kid, right? Yeah, I'm talking. I know you did it as a kid. Everybody does. You go pew, pew, pew. Who came up with pew? Like, could you imagine you trademark that? But anyway, you look to this heroic pantheon that you assemble in your head, and you try to mirror and mimic the attributes, what have you. And Muhammad Ali was not only the pinnacle for myself, but he was the pinnacle of the heroic pantheon for a generation, an entire generation. And, growing up, you get older, start to develop yourself as a young man, you go into adolescence, and then you start to not only see things that the world has to offer you, but then here comes the trick. The Brotivation rule of perception. There's 3 levels of perception in Brotivation. Listen, there is how you see yourself, which is the most important, how others see you, which can be manipulated, and who you really are. Those are the 3 levels of perception. How you see yourself, how people see you, and who you really are. And when you go out into society, you start to learn how society views you, especially as a teenage, adolescent, young black man. So now, once you peel back the entertainment aspects of Muhammad Ali with the poetry, the poems, the entertaining press conferences, then once you peel back the other layer of the supreme extraordinary athlete, his athleticism and what he did in the ring as a heavyweight, we'll talk a little bit about that more in depth. But what he meant to people on a social level at the foundation and the core of who he was, that's when, if he wasn't at the pinnacle of your heroic pantheon as a young male, especially as a young black male, his take on social issues and those interviews that he did on talk shows, the public speaking that he did on the college circuit, those are the things that put him on another level. Because, it takes courage to want to get into a sport to get you punched in the face. You get punched in the face, you got 2 choices. You can either fall, you can hold your nose, hold your eye, hold your lip, hold your head, hold something, or you can fight back. Now that's what a fight. That's a fist fight with rules, a ref, and a ring. In society and the socio-economic structure, the political environment of what was happening when he rose to prominence, when the government hits you, they're not trying to hit you in the face. They're trying to hit you for life to make an example out of you. And how he faced that challenge, how he dealt with that challenge, and how he emerged from that challenge is a blueprint for manhood, is a blueprint for life, which is one of the course, being true to yourself, being true to the fans, being true to the people around you. Now, he was not perfect at all, but he was not malicious, and he was very, very giving. This man gave a fortune away to people that needed it. Didn't look for the press, didn't look for the media, didn't use it for a tax write-off. He just gave and gave and gave and gave. Ultimately, sometimes it was to his detriment, but nonetheless, it's a benchmark of life. Because in life, you will lose far more than you could ever gain in life. But you can also give back. And that's what Muhammad Ali did. He gave back. And the fans and friends and people from around the world, they gave back by showing love at the Muhammad Ali Memorial Services, which we will talk about once we come back from this break. You are listening to Brotivation Sports with Champ Creed on Fox Sports Radio, 1340 AM.